The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't clone you, but it can streamline your hiring workflow. From posting jobs to shortlisting candidates to interviewing, LinkedIn Hiring Pro is the hiring partner you need, so you can focus on connecting with the right talent. In fact, small businesses report saving over 6 hours per week. So hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
And action! Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films to high-end TV to documentaries and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in a very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson, and today I've been doing a voiceover, and my voice is a bit wrecked. But I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by a true master of storytelling on this week's episode. It is the brilliant BAFTA-winning director, Morgan Matthews. Morgan started his journey with a deep passion for photography before heading to the London College of Printing, eventually finding himself deeply moved by classic documentaries like 14 Days in May. He then went on to build an incredible career in factual television, ultimately making the massive leap into narrative features with his stunning debut, X+Y. So in this episode, we are diving deep into his latest project, the beautifully crafted road movie, 500 Miles, which made me cry. Morgan opens up about in a good way. Morgan opens up about the brutal reality of shooting in wild Irish weather, navigating the complex world of independent financing with Screen Island, and what it's actually like directing heavyweights like Bill Nighy and Maisie Williams, alongside incredible young talent like Roman Griffin Davis and Dexter Sol Ansel, who is the star of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, by the way. And Roman is the star of Jojo Rabbit. And Bill Nighy is the star of so many movies, but let's go with Love Actually, because it's fantastic. Also in the cast is Michael Socha, Claire Dunn, Ian Duffy, and Deirdre Monahan. This movie was produced by Alex Gordon, Karen Misgav, Martina Nyland, David M. Thompson, and was written by Malcolm Campbell, who wrote What Richard Did, Acting Bridge, and herself before this. It is a stunning film. I loved watching this movie. I didn't expect what happens in the movie, and it really took me on a fantastic ride. Really highly recommend this film. 500 Miles is a masterclass of these kind of movies. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. Also in the episode, we get into the weeds of how Morgan's documentary roots influence his narrative editing process and why he loves to let actors have a real voice in shaping the script on set. So, grab a brew, get your notepads out, and please welcome the fantastic Morgan Matthews.
Hey, Giles.
Hey, Morgan, how are you, buddy?
All right. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Where are you? Whereabouts are you?
I'm North London, sweltering over here in North London.
Yeah. Well, you don't look like you're sweltering because I'm North London as well. So I was thinking you look somewhere cooler.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's just the light I've managed to make feel that way. But you're North London as well. How great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you? Might as well.
Stoke Newington.
Stoke, yeah, there you go. All right, Stoke. I'm a bit further up Mill Hill, Broadway, that way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've been here for about 15 years now. And you've not always been in London?
No, well, I mean, for actually nearly 30 years. Yeah. Actually more than 30 years. Grew up in Bristol and the Midlands before that.
Yeah, which is great. Sam, I've been there about 20 odd years now. Feels like it's your home now, right? It's London, it's the home. Yeah, which is nice. And this is where so much stuff happens as well for filmmakers. Did you find that when you first sort of got down here and you're making your documentaries and making things, was London the place to be rather than Bristol?
Well, I was quite naive, I would say, when I was younger, and I'd actually about further education, and probably could have gone down a couple of different routes. But I was very into photography, and that was one thing that I really kind of latched onto, and I would say more kind of documentary, observational kind of photography. And then at some point it became clear to me that even though you can tell, a story with a single picture, that I wanted to speak to people and I wanted them to be able to tell their own stories. And that kind of drew me towards documentary. And there were one or two docs that were really, that really kind of turned me on, I suppose, to documentary and the power of documentary when I was very young as well. But then all I knew was I wanted to study film and be in London to do that. But I initially got a place at Middlesex University to study film.
No way! Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
It's just down the road from me. Yeah. Oh.
And then I got there and I was like, oh, this isn't really like London, because
It's outside of London, as it were. Yeah.
yeah. And it wasn't a practical course, practical filmmaking course. And I actually managed to move to the London College of Printing as it was at the time.
Oh, did some printing, got the printer out, and so yeah.
Well, it was like, I think it's kind of misnamed.
Yes,
It's now the London College of Communication, but at the time it was part of the London Institute, which I presume it still exists, which was like St. Martin's, London College of Printing, London College of Fashion. I think there was one or two others as well. And that was where the film degree was, and that was a very practical course, and that's when I kind of started making films, really.
And what did you take from? Because obviously you said you wanted to do the film side of it, and that was something that really appealed to you. Can you remember what it exactly was? What was that feeling inside that made you went, "No, I want to tell stories this way"?
I was just drawn to people with interesting stories, and I realized, I suppose, the power of those stories, and the power of those stories, or the potential of those stories to form opinions, to change minds, and to make a difference. That was everybody wants to change the world when you're a kind of young filmmaker like that, and making docs in particular. And one of the films that I'd seen that really turned me on to documentaries is called 14 Days in May, and it was about a young man on death row in the States, and it followed the last 2 weeks of his life, and I was watching it thinking, I just can't believe that in a supposedly civilized world and country that this is happening, and that this isn't going to be stopped at some point along the way, because there was real doubt over his conviction and guilt as well. And I think it was later proven that he wasn't guilty. And I just couldn't imagine that anybody would be able to watch that film and think that the death penalty was a good idea, and the right thing to do. And I think that really sort of tuned me into the power of documentary. So it was documentary first for me, and then later I got into feature films.
Feature films first, because it's so interesting, because I've done 3 documentaries now and features as well, and it does give you that. It's a different kind of storytelling. You're finding the story sometimes within what your structure is. You kind of know what it is, but then you find it and there's a new storyline, there's a new thread, and there's a lot of work in the edit room. Did you find that was the thing that really helped you as a documentary maker before moving into sort of fiction and narrative?
I think the experience making docs definitely helped me, but it was very different when I moved into making features, from my experience making documentaries. But that's partly because of the way that I was making docs at the time, and that was very small, working in a very small team, pretty much just me shooting, recording sound as well, asking the questions. I might have one other person with me, producer. I've always worked with a great producer, and they'd often have the boom. And, it was just the sort of two of us, and I mean, the first film I made at my company, Minnow, which is about 20 years ago, was just me on a ship, as in, I was the crew, going down to the Antarctic on a Greenpeace ship, to, in theory, confront the Japanese whalers in the Southern Ocean there. So I worked in this very kind of small unit way, and then jumped from that into a feature film without having the stepping stone of making a short film scripted drama, beforehand. So that was quite a leap, really. And it was different, but mainly because of the structure, and it's so much more structured, and your team is so big, and it's there's there's a lot of knowledge that you learn when you're in some capacity when you're working on a feature. If you've worked your way up, or if you had a different role, if you go in quite green, then that's all quite new to you.
Yes.
And I remember on the first day, producer said to me, "This is my first film, X plus Y." She said, "So we wrap at 7." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's all right if we go to like 7:30 or something like that." And she's like, no, it doesn't work like that, And my experience in docs was just very, very different from that.
I love that. It's so interesting. How was it working with actors then, I suppose, for that first time on X and Y or X plus Y? Getting into, right, I've got to suddenly ask these actors to do it in a certain way. How did you manage that?
Well, thankfully, I mean, because that film was an adaptation of a documentary that I'd made about a group of young mathematicians on their way to the International Mathematical Olympiad, and they were a really kind of fascinating group of young people. So I'd spent a lot of time with them, and I felt that I kind of knew that world, and I knew those characters like really well, and their parents and their teachers, and the whole process of competing in these competitions. And so I had, I suppose, that knowledge going into it. And I was able to answer a lot of questions. When you make a film, when you make a feature film, there's a lot of questions. And so I had that at least. And then I found working with the actors, I love working with the actors. I had an incredible cast on that film as well, with Sally Hawkins, Rafe Spall, Eddie Marsan, Asa Butterfield, and then this young cast as well, who were, you would say, relatively unknown at the time, but had the privilege of being able to cast them from, big groups of young actors who auditioned for the role. So I really loved that, and I actually found the process of experience of working with actors not too dissimilar from working with non-actors in a documentary situation.
Oh, really?
Because you're when you make a doc, you're building a relationship, and you're also building trust, and you're finding ways of communicating, best way of communicating with that person what works for them as well. It's not for me just about imposing a way of working or a style on the actors or on those people. It's about what works for them as well, and what makes them comfortable, and where do they deliver their best work, or how do they deliver their best work. And is that after 15-20 takes, or is it the second one, or is it and how much direction do they need? Is it just a few words, or do they want to talk quite a lot, and sort of just tuning into that. And I really enjoy that, and I could talk all day with actors if they wanted to about a role.
Yeah, and your first AD is going, any minute now, shall we shoot?
Yeah.
You're like, we can go to 7:30 though, right?
Well, exactly. And that's it, because, time is the main, I would say,
Issue.
enemy on
Enemy.
a shoot. And most people would have that experience. And actually, to an extent, it doesn't seem to change, even on a massive production. And having spent a bit of time on the set of some very big films, and they're still kind of
Same.
under that time cosh,
It's crazy, isn't it? It's the same thing. Everyone says, oh, when I get to the next level, or when I get to this, I'll have more time, I'll have more money, I'll have more. Well, you might have more money, but you certainly won't have more time. It just doesn't exist.
You just try and do more with the time that you have. Like everybody tries to do, and then also if you're working with young people, you have child hours issues and that sort of thing. When we were shooting in Ireland for 500 miles. All of the locations, those are real locations, those are working locations. If it's the bus station in Dublin, if it's the ferry from Holyhead to Dublin, they're not stopping for us. There are real people just carrying on, with their business around you, and you've just got that fixed period of that journey, whatever it is, to shoot that scene. But again, I was quite, I suppose, comfortable working in that way, just coming from the background that I have.
Yeah, I bet. Well, how does it differ? Because you're still doing bits of documentaries now. I'm pretty sure you're certainly execing as well. But in terms of storyboarding and vision of, feature film, and by the way, 500 Miles is fantastic. I loved it. We'll get to that in a minute. But in terms of your thought process and your vision, your tone for 500 Miles, has it differed over the years? Has it changed? Has it adapted? And how does it differ from documentaries?
Well, I suppose I'm always drawing. I always try to draw from some real experience. And if I've made a documentary about that subject, then that's great, because I'm coming with that knowledge and experience. If I don't have that or so much of that, I really like to be involved in the writing process. I work very closely with the writer of 500 Miles, Malcolm Campbell, and who I adore, and is a great collaborator. And understandably, not all writers like to work like that and have a director kind of chipping in
on the shoulder. Yes.
And Malcolm's listened to all kinds of anecdotes and stories from my past experience that he sort of wove into the film, and also the experience that the family have had in the film, and it's quite difficult to talk about that without kind of giving too much away. But I have been close to a lot of families who have had a similar or parallel experience. And I was certainly bringing a lot of that, I suppose, real world experience into the film as well. And whilst I still make docs, it is, as you say, usually as an executive producer or producer through my company, Minnow Films. Yeah. And we make all kinds of films about all kinds of subjects. But when I started, and that crossover from docs to drama or scripted, and that kind of a bit baptism of fire then. Now with docs, a lot of the films that we make, the docs are, they do have big crews. They do have ADs, art department, costume, and sometimes we might have 100+ on some of the biggest shows that we've made. Wow. So there are much more kind of parallels, I would say, in terms of the scale, the structure of a feature film, a low-budget feature film, anyway.
Yeah, no, that's great. And in terms of your vision, then, for putting it on 500 Miles, and do you storyboard? Do you shot list? How do you like to work?
I wouldn't say I storyboard so much. There were some scenes that it was important to do that because they were quite complex at sea, on boats, small boats, involving stunts and all sorts.
Yep.
in the sea, Atlantic in November, when it was very cold as well. And so, you're only going to get a couple of cracks at that. And so it was important to storyboard some of those scenes. I mean, I really like to just be in the location. And this is this very obvious thing to say, but to just have a bit of time in that location before we shoot to block it out to an extent with the actors and just visualize it in the space and fit the story to the space sometimes, because I'm more often than not working in these real world spaces rather than on sets or purpose, constructed environments. And so, like, whatever you have on the page, unless you kind of been to that location and work that action around that location, it's not necessarily going to work. So for me, I often, on the recce's and when we're scouting, I'll feed a lot of that into the script in terms of the action, where things take place, what happens, etc., and make use of something that's maybe naturally there or whatever it is, and write it into the script.
Oh, nice.
And most of that I'll try and do beforehand, but some of that I'll do on the day.
Yes.
And some of that is because you actually don't get, it is a working ferry or whatever, and you don't get like
time to
to kind of recce it properly in advance and block it out. So but again, I'm quite comfortable with that. You just have to be working with people who are also comfortable with that too.
It sounds wonderful. Yeah, I love to work that way as well. I love to sit in a location when you're going to be filming in there and go, okay, well, I thought of this originally, but now I'm in here. Wouldn't this be cool? And you can shoot through the window, or you've got this shot, or there's a certain angle through the stairs that you might not on the day have time to look at that because there's so much other stuff going on. But if you have time in the location, it's so wonderful. And like you say, with this film, 500 Miles, it must have been like going up 500 miles an hour some of the time when you're like, right, new location, because there was a lot of locations, and I know what it's like. You're moving around constantly, and it's right, quick, the weather's good enough, let's get the shots. Especially on those drives across, I was like, that looks amazing with the fog coming in, but I was like, it must have been a nightmare to like the rain and God knows what else was coming down.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, particularly in Ireland, because whether it's a cliche, you get every season in a day, and it can be within an hour, and you'll go from fog to rain to bright sunlight, and of course that's a bit of a nightmare for continuity. But I think for anyone who's been to Ireland, they just recognise that it is actually like that as well, and these scenes might have actually been shot on the same day, very close to each other, or they might have been shot, further apart. I mean, as it is in the story, most of it takes place on a single day, and then there are these flashbacks to better times, I suppose, or certainly to different times. And some of those scenes are set, in a slightly ambiguous way, but certainly in the school holidays. And we were very fortuitous. It's not often. It's usually the other way around on a film shoot. I'm sure you know that, like the weather gods are against you. But we were mostly very fortuitous, and for some of those scenes that we couldn't have shot, that's the only day you can shoot it. You've got this location. It's outside. They're on the beach or they're on the boat, and it needs to be sunny. And it was. In November, and there were a few days when we were just like, thank you so much, and that worked out.
Yeah, it's so good. I remember when I did Arthur and Merlin, it rained every day. And then when I did Sessions, the latest one, we wanted sun in these beautiful, and we got it. It was like, thank you. Finally, the weather gods were on our side to get, one of these beautiful days where, you're going to get the shots that you planned and do everything like that.
And it really gives you a boost. But then there were equally other times when, like, again, you planned, we were going to shoot a scene. There's a car breaks down, and we picked this location beautiful in the Connor Pass, and you kind of see it across the mountains, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And we picked that as the spot for the breakdown. And then on the day, the fog on the road, you couldn't see anything. And then we were supposed to shoot the scene outside the car, and we'd planned and blocked for that. And then we got there, and it's like the last scene of the day, we're going to lose the light. There's there's no way we can shoot that scene outside because the rain is slanting sideways and it's just awful and freezing. And so we changed it, we shot it inside the car, and we managed to do that. And I think it worked. But yeah, you've got to be able to adapt and think on your feet in that way as well.
You have to. And if you get upset too much by those things that do happen, and hey, I feel like filmmaking's compromises constantly. You set your bar up here and you go, yeah, we'll be lucky if we get somewhere down here. I'm grateful if we get somewhere in the middle, right? That's how it should be, because it is so difficult.
Yeah, and then sometimes you do get lucky, like the rainbow. There's a lovely shot with a rainbow in the background, and Maisie and Roman Griffin Davis on the back of a horse, and that's definitely not a VFX rainbow.
Wow.
But then you've also only got like 5 minutes, and they're like, right, get the horse on the hill,
get the horse quick. Someone get on the horse. Anyone
before it disappears, because I've never seen so many rainbows as I did on that shoot.
Wow.
But they disappear very quickly.
Very quickly. I love it when magic like that happens on a film. And this film is magic, by the way. I really loved it. I didn't see, for no spoilers, I didn't see what was going to happen at the ending at all. It got me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my God, that was fantastically well handled and really interesting. I think managing something like that, it's like, and you even touched on it earlier about how you think about what you're going to put into the film to not give something away or to not preempt something with the audience. Was that always the plan, or did you want a bit of a hint so that it didn't feel like it was too big a shock?
Well, it's interesting, and having watched the film now with a few audiences and listened to the responses during the film, actually, because you can hear, you get that sense, and and also you hear, you hear people crying, you hear people and laughing in the moments, hopefully when it's funny as well. Yes. But so you kind of get a sense of that. But then with if there's a Q&A afterwards, or if people speak to you afterwards, you get even more of a sense. And it's interesting because people who had knew the story for whatever reason, because they'd read the original book, or because they were connected to somebody who had worked on the film, or they were somebody who had worked on the film, and so they know the story, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't impact them emotionally, and it might be in a slightly different way, but people still can find it very, very moving, and still be very affected by it. And I think there are other people, well, I know that there are other people who might see it coming a bit more, and maybe there's a point, in the film or wherever it is, but that's also okay. Like, I mean, you can't entirely control that, but I don't think it relies on this, I suppose, emotional reveal being a surprise. And I almost wouldn't want anyone to feel like overly blindsided by that, or if it helps to kind of see it a little bit earlier and build up to that, that's also okay. Yes. People will see it and experience it in different ways. I think the main hope is that they do tune into that emotion and the catharsis when it happens.
Yeah, I think you've totally nailed that. I think it's a beautiful film, deserves to be seen far and wide. I thought it was fantastic and really well made. It was just beautiful. It just felt right. Everything with these type of films, sometimes they can try too hard or pushing in a certain way or whatever. I just felt this was just gorgeous. Everything about it felt right. And even there, you're saying you imagined some other shots you wanted to do, but that didn't affect me when I was watching it, or what we're filmmakers, you have to adapt and make it work. And I thought you did that brilliantly. I thought it was really nice. I thought your cast as well were really lovely, and brilliant performance. Maisie Williams for me really stood out as this, obviously all your cast are amazing, Bill Nye and Dexter and the whole gang. But Maisie's really different in this film, and I really enjoyed her performance. How do you go about trying to get a character arc, or obviously you're talking to them every day and beforehand, but what is it you're looking for when you're trying to find that softer character arc that isn't too in your face or too big? It's just lovely and it's soulful.
Well, I think with Maisie, her character is Kate, that was quite sort of clear to us, like why she became involved in this journey and in this story, and that she connected with Finn, played by Roman Griffin Davis, who's a bit younger than her.
Yes, but you can see why he likes her. It's totally, it's like a little bit of lust towards her, and it's really nice. It's not overplayed. It's just, he's a young lad. She's
he's
cool.
sort of awkward. It's slightly awkward, and and whether it is a bit of lust or interest, or and I think for her it's definitely more. Whether it would be a younger brother situation, but somebody that she's trying to she's looking out for, and he is quite vulnerable, and but she also identifies to an extent with his experience. He's run away from home. She's pretty much just run away from home to go and see her dad in England. She's a little bit older, but she's also broke, or relatively broke. She's busking her way, back and forth to England there. So she sort of sees him as a vulnerable young person who has she doesn't know the story, she doesn't know what's happened, but she knows that the parents has something to do with it, and the reason behind Finn running away with his brother Charlie. She knows that the parents are like part of that, and that there's been some kind of fallout, and she also identifies with that. So, because of her own experience with her parents, so I think that was quite clear to us, and then also, she's a busker, she's a singer, and Maisie is. I think she's got a lovely voice, and
lovely,
just recorded live wherever we were, sometimes only had 1 or 2 takes, and we're out in the open, and so it's a very real performance in that way. It's not, we've not then gone into a studio, re-recorded it, auto-tuned it, anything like that. And she also learnt to play the ukulele, and did very well. In that, having only a few weeks to do so.
And your discussions with her about that, then we'll just stick on Maisie because it's really nice. Obviously with Dexter as well, that would be a very different conversation. But with Maisie, how did you say what you wanted from her, and when to push and when not to? Was those discussions had, and how did you go about that? Sort of.
Yeah, I would say to an extent. I mean, Maisie's such a kind of wonderful and experienced actor. She brings so much, to the performance, just very naturally as well. And which I really enjoyed, and that's one of the things I love working. I love working with great actors, for the fact that they are able to interpret what's on the page in very different ways, but also very subtle, nuanced differences as well. And Maisie is particularly good at that. And to a certain extent, we kind of experienced the story through her character, through Kate's eyes. And when we kind of understand the reality of what has happened, and when that drops, if you like, we experience that through Maisie, through Kate, her character. And so she has that very, very important role, because everyone else knows what's happened really, along the way, apart from her. And then when it's revealed, it's through her eyes, and I find that particularly powerful, that moment, that realization, when you see that in her, and that's, there's no lines there, she doesn't have any dialogue, and you just see it dawning on her, and also how that kind of translates into her care for Finn, which was there sort of naturally anyway. She had that kind of protective instinct, but then the realization, and then she just, really, it all kind of comes together for her.
Yeah, totally. You nailed it, both of you, to get what you wanted from that, because it really works. And let's just talk about the financials then, the side of it, and obviously your company involved, and how did it come together with this, in terms of finding the money, Irish tax breaks, etc., etc. Just maybe you could touch on that for us, so our audience, again, it's always nice for them to know, how films are funded, and in this case, how did it happen?
This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is, until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video July 1st.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Here's a little tune to help you remember. Same drive, different day. Don't you wish you were getting away? Pack your bags and come on through. Texas, Ohio, Alaska, we're up there too. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Well, I hope you like my little song. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This summer, soccer is here, and so are the watch parties. And Uber Eats has your game day essentials covered with 30% off orders from Aldi, Kroger, and Dollar General. Everything you need to keep your crowd happy, delivered straight to your door. Chips, dips, fresh ingredients, and more. Order in so you can lock in for the games. 30% off your grocery order, only on Uber Eats for a limited time.
Yeah, well, for all the filmmakers out there, it's never easy, and I've not known an easy experience in pulling an independent film together. And it's always there's that challenge, particularly around this level, because to an extent it does rely on casting as well, and you need that cast in order to attract the finance and the financiers, really. And that's not the whole cast, but some key pillars of that cast. And we were lucky to get Bill on board. But there was a process involved in that, and Bill engaged with the script, but that we had quite a bit of back and forth on his character and some of the scenes, and he had a fair bit of input into that before committing. But that I definitely made for a better version of John, his character, like 100%. And was good to be. It was good to be able to do that with him.
It's been amazing. Yes.
But then the money, it's all pieced together, as you can imagine. Screen Island was a big part of that. Another Irish Film Fund as well, CNM. Yes, tax incentives for shooting in Ireland, and sales agent, distributor. The usual kind of piecing it together, some pre-sales
deals. Right.
The kind of usual, I would say, for a film of this kind of level, but quite a lot of time involved in that.
Yeah, wonderful. It's always so much time doing it, and so much you never know, are we going to make this film type thing, and we can be juggling projects, and we put so much effort into something, and it might all fall apart, and that can be devastating. It's happened so many times, I imagine, to you as well, where you think, yeah, this one's going, and then it doesn't, or the cast member can't do it, or there's how do you feel when that moment is happening, then that moment of, right, we're actually shooting 500 miles, I've gone through all this, literally feels like 500 miles. What do you do at that point as a director? What's the first thing you go, right, what do I need to get my head in the game to make this work?
Well, it's interesting because I haven't experienced really kind of knowing that it's going to happen until it's happening.
It's happening.
That's that cliche that you don't know it's happening until you're actually shooting.
Shooting, and even
that first day, and it is always, my experience again, is always a bit sort of seat of the pants up until that first shoot day, because hopefully you've got your cast in place, but you've only got them for those windows, and some of them will have time pressure, like they're going on to something, they're coming off something, that's it. That was the case with Bill, a couple of the others as well. So those dates can't move, and then there are other things that are removable locations, etc. And if you haven't quite got that last piece of the finance in place, or as was, in our case, we thought we had it in place, and then at the very last minute it fell away.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that happened. And then you're, in a situation where you're either going to have to make some very significant cuts to the script and how you're going to shoot this, and where you're going to shoot it, or you're going to have to find that money from somewhere. And we did a bit of both.
Yeah. That's the only way. At that point, you scrabble around and you beg, borrow, steal, don't you? Yeah, it's happened to me too. We're literally 2 weeks from set and suddenly someone goes, oh yeah, we're not going to put that bit of finance in. You're like, right, what are you going to do? Just make it work. It sounds like you did brilliantly. And then just to wrap us up, if you were to sort of, the fact that you've had this really wonderful, varied career with so much going on in the last sort of 30 years since you've been in London, looking back, what's the thing you feel like you've learnt the most as a director it could be from documentaries to working with actors, and what's the thing that's really felt that you stood in good stead and you look back on and go, I'm proud of that?
Oof, I think that's tough because particularly with scripted, with drama, it's quite hard to watch. I find it different from documentary, because so much of that is, in theory, what happens on screen is in your, it should be in your power, however you want to describe it, to change, to make that better, and sometimes there are lots of factors that kind of change your ability to do that, or affect your ability to do that, and you see that, when you watch it back, and you see the stuff that you would have done differently, and I think most of us experience that, and so I find that watching scripted work that I've directed almost harder, whereas with documentary, when people are doing undeniably, objectively, amazing things, incredible things, very powerful things, and that's them, and yes, you might have created that environment, the trust to where that person feels comfortable in doing that and sharing that, in allowing you in that way, and then you've shaped it in a way that has hopefully kind of landed with an audience in the edit, etc. But I kind of think it's undeniably strong, when it's a doc. And then with a script, it's not so much the performance. I mean, I think, certainly with actors, I'm so grateful for brilliant actors, because there are those performances, which I do think are, undeniably amazing. But everything else around that is in your kind of, as I say, gift to have changed, have made better, have done differently. So it's quite hard to be happy with everything. But I actually, with 500 Miles, I do like it, and would I say I'm happy with it? I mean, I'm really happy with the performances in it. I think they're a great bunch.
Totally agree. You should be super proud of it. 500 Miles it's an amazing film. It really is. You should be proper beaming proud. I'd be so happy to have made this film.
Oh, it's lovely to hear. That's so good to hear. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Listen, Morgan Matthews, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and congratulations and good luck with everything.
Good stuff. And I hope your dog is all right. I'm presuming it's a dog.
Yeah, she's Riley. She's not very well at the moment. She decided to come in the room and start paddling. I was like, shall I go?
I could hear like the little patter of claws, and like you're thinking, so I need to put her in another room?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, she was. And she just burst in twice. But anyway, that's all right. Thanks, Morgan. Enjoy the heat in North London, and all the best to you, mate.
Thanks, Giles. You too.
All right. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Oh, there we have it. That was the amazing Morgan Matthews. 500 Miles is out now. Go check it out. Go watch it wherever you can. It is superb. As you could hear then, I was very happy with Morgan. Very proud of his work. Yeah, good. What are you up to? Are you doing things? Are you making your films? Are you making your scripts? Are you finding investors? Are you getting your decks ready? Are you working out your waterfalls? Are you getting your bank accounts set up for your film companies? Do you know your EIS from your SEIS? If not, why not? Get on top of it. Start learning. Make sure you know everything you can about the filmmaking world so you're prepared to go in as a producer, even as a director and writer. You've got to understand this world. You've got to understand it if you want to be in it. If you're already in it, I'm sure you know all this stuff. And if you are lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. Thank you for listening. Much, much appreciated. As always, hit the subscribe button. Tell all your pals about this podcast. Please do. So I'll keep doing this every Tuesday for 9 years. And I think you're amazing. Well, because you've listened this far, you must be. But not only that, but because you're in this world of showbiz, this world of filmmaking, which is never easy. And I applaud you for doing what you do. Right, until next Tuesday, when we have Eddie Q and Jerry Bruckheimer coming on for a quick chat all about Apple and AI and F1, and it's going to be a good one. So look forward to that next Tuesday. For now, though, go out there, make your films, make your world, make it happy. And we will see you next Tuesday. I've been Giles Alderson, as always, and you have been you, and I hope you've enjoyed that. Until then, until I see you or you hear from me, take care everyone. Bye bye bye.
Every act of change begins with a neighbor, with someone saying,
"We take care of each other here."
In food banks and food pantries, neighbors pack fresh food and dignity into every box, moving food from farms to families through Feeding America's nationwide network. So when that box reaches a home, it carries more than food. It carries a promise that together we can end hunger. Feeding America, led by neighbors. Give now to end hunger at feedingamerica.org.